It is a pink panel today and I'm very excited. So let's bring in columnist and commentator Angela Mollard. Great to see you. And Amanda Rose, founder and CEO of Western Sydney Women. Great to see you as well. I feel very left out. What did you say during the ad break? I'm like,
you look like a licorice you're
one of my favourite snacks, and I'm not looking for an endorsement, of course. Now, Australian health authorities have said there's no chance we'll follow the UK's swap to stop policy, which sees the UK offer smokers millions of free vapes to replace cigarettes. I mean, have the UK missed the mark on this approach? I think it's fairly obvious.
This is ridiculous. I mean, we've got the TGA, the AMA, everybody. We've got Queensland doing an inquiry into the use of vapes. Anastasia Palaszczuk a few weeks ago said we need to understand more about this. We know that children are using them. We know that young teens, people who would never, have been educated not to smoke all their lives, and you turn around in the UK and you actually give them what I see is an entry drug to smoking. That you get, there is nicotine in some of them. There are nicotine in some of the vapes here. The way that they're sold is not, the sort of lack of regulation around how they're sold. We need to be really tight about vaping. We need to stamp it out rather than what the UK is doing, which is basically saying go for your lives.
It's a free-for-all. My radio stablemate, who's also comedian Dave Hughes, doesn't drink, quit when he was 18, doesn't smoke, never done drugs, nothing. He was given a vape after a comedy show about a year ago by a taxi driver. For about 3 months, he was completely addicted to the point where he was hiding under the desk at work so the cameras wouldn't catch him. He was hiding from his children, and he is not someone who indulges in anything. That is how addictive these things are. They're horrific.
But also, we need to consider, especially in America, this is happening, tobacco companies actually own a lot of the vaping businesses. So really what's happening is you get a company that is using the government to potentially pay consumers to switch from one product they already own to a new product. So that's taxpayers' money to say, oh, we want them to switch across to this new product, please. So can you pay them out of taxpayers' funds to do that? And it's not regulated. And it is addictive, not only in what's in it, but also the trend on TikTok and everyone. It's cool. It's
fruity flavour.
Yes,
the watermelon and the
it's just like the chocolate cigarettes that when we were younger, long time ago.
That's right. I remember those from the general
That's
store.
right. And then we had a whole generation smoking.
Oh, God, no, I just think it's an awful idea. And we're still in the UK for another idea that they've got. I don't know if it's as awful. They've introduced another interesting policy. Now, this is to set out and address their housing crisis, specifically the role international investors play. So it asks residents to report to enforcement any properties vacant for over 6 months so they can investigate. So it's essentially dob in your neighbour. I get the logic, but I don't want to live in a society of dibber-dobbers.
Well, also, if you buy a house, don't you have a right to do what you want with it? I mean, are they going to move this onto cars and boats like you have a car, so you actually have to... If it's
I saw you and your bike.
Yes, and you didn't use it for 3 days. Look, it's real 1984 stuff. It's real. That feels like it reeks of communism. And I just think, if the one thing you could do, that government and other agencies have the levers that they can pull. They did it after the war. We needed a lot more social housing, and the Whitlam government managed to do that. Why can they not manage to do it again? And look, if you really do want someone to dob in unused houses, use a utility company. They can tell if the water hasn't been used or the electricity hasn't been used. Use them instead.
Rather than encouraging a nation
to start dobbing each other in. It's only going to be about people that have hate their neighbour because the tree's growing over their side anyway.
It'll be revenge.
Think of Guy Sebastian now and his old neighbour scenario, which we won't comment. No, it's not legal. I think it's been dropped, so we're okay too. But you work in Western Sydney. You were just saying you speak to kids, you speak to adults. It's a serious situation, the housing crisis.
It actually is. What's interesting is land banking is actually quite common in Western Sydney. So we've got foreign investors who buy up lots of land and they're waiting for rezoning. They're waiting for DA approval so they can create massive developments, especially near the airport. So they're just sitting on it and they've got the funds to be able to sit on it. So there could be a compromise here, either a vacancy tax, which would incentivise them to actually lease it out and rent it out, because it could be 5 years before that rezoning happens. Rent it out. And also transitional housing places like women's community shelters actually use those type of houses, do a mini refurb and use them as transitional housing. That should be happening.
Wow, practical solutions. We would have actually
or hike up capital gains tax if you must. If you want to disincentivise people from buying more property, just penalise them at the end of it. It's pretty easy.
No, I like hello. What are you two doing? You're saying for me to run in the Senate seat. Bridget McKenzie just suggested it. Why don't you two?